If you love deep, emotional stories that pull you in and refuse to let go, the kind you feel more than you watch, go ahead and subscribe right now. Seriously, it helps more than you think, and it keeps stories like this coming your way. And while you're here, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? A quiet town where nights are truly dark? Or a city that hums even at 3 a.m.? I read more comments than you'd expect. Now let me take you back. If someone asked me to name the exact moment my life quietly shifted off its axis, I wouldn't talk about the divorce papers. Not the arguments. Not the lawyers. Not the day he packed the last of his things and closed the front door with that final, echoing click. No. I would take you to a Friday night in late November. A night so still it almost felt staged. The kind of silence that doesn't soothe you, it watches you. Outside, the darkness wasn't just the absence of light. It felt present, pressing against the windows, leaning against the house like it wanted to come in and sit at the table with us. Inside, the house had finally gone quiet. That quiet had become rare over the years. Precious. Something I used to crave the way thirsty people crave rain. But that night, it felt different. Heavy. As if silence itself carried weight. I was 42 years old. Old enough to be tired in places that sleep no longer fixes. For 5 years, I had been steering our small, fragile life alone, me and my son, through waters that never stayed calm for long. Divorce doesn't always explode. Sometimes it erodes. Slow. Patient. Like waves against a cliff face, taking small pieces each year until one day the land just gives way. That had been us. Richard and I didn't shatter. We faded. Two people who once knew each other better than anyone slowly becoming strangers who shared a kitchen. But when a marriage dissolves quietly, the aftermath is anything but. The loneliness. The bills. The 1,000 invisible decisions that used to be shared. The constant, low-grade fear that you might be getting it all wrong. That became my inheritance. And in the middle of all of it, there was Lucas. Raising him alone had broken me and rebuilt me in equal measure. He was 21 now, standing on that narrow bridge between boyhood and manhood. Too old to be sheltered. Too young to have armor thick enough for the world. He was sharp. Funny in that dry, unexpected way. Gentle in a way that made my chest tighten. Because the world does not handle gentle souls with care. Somewhere along the years, without either of us noticing when it happened, he had become more than just my son. He had become my constant. My witness. My quiet teammate against the world. That realization alone should have made me pause more than it did. That night, exhaustion didn't come like a wave. It came like gravity. I barely remember changing into my silk pajamas. I remember the cool slide of fabric against skin. The soft sigh of sheets as I collapsed onto the bed. The house made its familiar settling sounds. Beams shifting, pipes ticking, wind brushing the siding. Lucas had gone to his room hours earlier. I assumed he was doing what he always did to unwind. Headphones on, lost in a game, the digital glow lighting his face in the dark. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling where moonlight slipped through sheer curtains and painted pale shapes on the walls. My thoughts began to loosen, drifting away from numbers and worries and the endless to-do lists. For a brief moment, I allowed myself a rare thought. We made it through this year. It hadn't been easy, but we were still standing. Lucas had stepped up in ways I never asked him to, taking on responsibilities that weren't meant for shoulders his age. Fixing things. Handling things. Watching me in that quiet way that told me he worried more than he said. Pride and guilt had lived side by side in me because of that. I was just beginning to fall into sleep when I heard it. A knock. Soft. Careful. At first, my mind tried to tuck it into a dream. But then it came again. 3 gentle raps. Mom. His voice was low, blurred by the door, but instantly awake-making. I pushed myself up on my elbows. Lucas? Is everything okay? The handle turned slowly. The door opened just enough for hallway light to outline his shape. He didn't step in right away. He stood there, tall, broad-shouldered, but somehow looking like a little boy caught in a storm. I can't sleep, he said quietly. Something in his voice wasn't just restlessness. It was weight. Come in, I told him. He closed the door behind him, sealing the room into its own small world. When he walked to the bed, I could see it, the slump in his posture, the way tension clung to him like a second skin. "What's going on?" I asked. He dragged a hand through his hair. "My head won't stop. It's too quiet in my room." I really looked at him then, not as my child, but as a person in pain, asking for comfort the only way he knew how. I lifted the blanket slightly. "Lay down for a bit. You don't have to talk." He hesitated, searching my face, like he needed reassurance this was still allowed. Then he nodded. He climbed onto the bed, at first stiff, unsure where to put his arms, his legs, all that grown man height in a space that still held childhood memories. We lay facing each other in the dim room. I reached out without thinking and brushed his hair back from his forehead. The same gesture from when he was 5, 10, 15. He exhaled like he'd been holding air all day. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked suddenly. "Regret what?" "Leaving Dad." I took my time. "I regret that it hurt you, but I don't regret where we are now." He studied my face in the low light. "He didn't deserve you," he said quietly. Fierce. Certain. It startled me, not the words, but the intensity behind them. "You're biased," I tried to joke. "No," he said softer. "I just see you." The room fell still after that. Not empty. Charged. I should have told him to go back to his room. I should have drawn a clear line. But I was so tired of being strong alone. "Just sleep," I whispered. "Okay," he said. His breathing slowed first. Mine didn't. Because somewhere in that stillness, I felt something shift. Not an action, not a decision, just a quiet awareness that our lives had narrowed so much. We had become each other's whole emotional world. And that realization was both beautiful and dangerous. Morning light erased the softness of night. He was already downstairs when I woke. The smell of coffee drifted up the stairs. In the kitchen, sunlight caught in his hair, across the sharpness of his jaw. He looked older. Or maybe I was seeing him differently. "Morning," he said. Our eyes held a second too long. "Did you sleep?" "Yeah. Best in a while." I nodded. "Good." We ate in a quiet that felt full instead of empty. But beneath it, something unspoken hovered. The knowledge that loneliness had a way of pulling people closer than they realized, sometimes too close. The day moved on. Normal tasks. Normal words. But awareness lingered like static in the air before a storm. And that night, a storm did come. Rain battered the roof. Wind howled along the walls. The world outside shrank to darkness and sound. We watched a movie on the couch, a blanket over us, firelight flickering. I couldn't tell you what the movie was about. All I knew was how small our world had become. Just this room. This house. This life built from survival. When the power cut, plunging us into darkness, the silence roared. "I should get candles," I said. His hand caught my wrist, not forceful. "Just needing." "Don't," he said. "Just sit." And in the dark, with only the last glow of embers lighting our faces, I understood something clearly for the first time. We had both been holding on to each other not just out of love, but out of fear of being alone in the aftermath of everything we had lost. That night wasn't the start of something romantic. It was the moment I realized boundaries blur quietly, not in dramatic choices, but in small comforts, late-night conversations, shared loneliness. And realizing that was the moment everything had to change. Because love, real love, protects. Even when protection means stepping back. The storm didn't stop that night. It moved inland. Not in the sky. In me. I didn't sleep much after that moment on the couch. Lucas eventually drifted off, his head tipped back, the fire's last glow tracing shadows under his eyes. He looked young again like that. Not the broad-shouldered man life had forced him to become too quickly. Just my son. Tired. Carrying too much. I watched him breathe, and felt something inside me rearranging itself. Loneliness is dangerous. Not loud dangerous. Quiet dangerous. It doesn't shove you. It doesn't scream. It just slowly convinces you that the person closest to you is the only one you need. Until your world becomes smaller than it should ever be. That's what had happened to us. Not because we did something wrong, but because pain narrows vision. When the power came back sometime after midnight, I gently nudged him awake. Lucas, go to bed. He blinked, disoriented. Sorry. I didn't mean to. You don't have to apologize, I said, keeping my voice soft but steady. But you need your space. And I need mine. He studied my face in that careful way he had. The way children look when they sense something deeper is being said. Did I do something? He asked. And there it was, the fragile center of it all. No, I said quickly. You didn't do anything wrong. That's why this matters. He didn't understand yet. But he listened. You've been taking care of me for a long time, I continued. Too long. Longer than you should have had to. That's what family does, he said automatically. Yes, I agreed. But not like this. Not where you forget you're allowed to have your own life. His jaw tightened. I don't mind. Ido. The words landed heavier than I expected. The rain tapped softly now, no longer violent, just present. I leaned on you too much, I said. Saying it out loud felt like stepping barefoot onto cold ground. After the divorce. After everything. You stepped into a space that was never meant to be yours to fill. I wanted to, he said. I know. I smiled sadly. That's what makes you who you are. But love isn't supposed to make your world smaller, Lucas. It's supposed to make it bigger. He looked away first. And in that moment, I saw something shift in him too. Not rejection, not hurt. Recognition. Like he'd been waiting for someone to say what he hadn't had words for. The next morning, the air in the house felt different. Not lighter. Clearer. We ate breakfast at the table instead of on the couch. A small thing, but symbolic. Space. Distance. Not cold, just healthy. I've been thinking, he said, pushing his plate away, about applying for the internship in Chicago. My heart skipped. Chicago was far. Really? Yeah. I didn't before because, he shrugged. I thought you needed me here. There it was. The quiet contract neither of us had meant to sign. I need you happy, I said. That's what I need. The words trembled, but they were true. Change didn't happen in one conversation. It happened in small, deliberate acts. I stopped going to him first when something broke or a bill stressed me out. I called a repair service. I met with a financial advisor. I forced myself back into friendships I'd neglected. He stopped hovering in doorways. Stopped asking you okay? 5 times a day. Started staying out later with friends. Started laughing more. The unguarded kind, not the careful one. We were still close. But now it felt like standing side by side. Not leaning all our weight on each other. A week later, he came home with that look. The one people get when life just opened a door. I got it, he said. I didn't even need to ask. The Chicago internship. I hugged him hard. The kind of hug that says I'm proud and I'm scared and go anyway all at once. That night, after he went to bed, I walked through the quiet house. The same walls. The same furniture. But it didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt like a place in transition. A home that had done its job. The day he left, the sky was clear, unfairly bright. At the airport, he looked both taller and younger at the same time. Standing on the edge of his own life. You'll be okay? He asked. I laughed softly. I was okay before you knew how to walk. I'll manage. He smiled, but his eyes were glossy. Thank you, he said. For what? For not letting me stay small. That almost broke me. We hugged. Tight. Long. The kind of hug that seals chapters. Then he walked away. And for the first time in years, the space beside me wasn't filled by fear. It was filled by possibility. That Friday night in November, the night I once thought was about closeness, was actually about clarity. Love isn't proven by how tightly you hold on. It's proven by knowing when to loosen your grip so the other person can grow. I didn't lose my son. I got to meet him again. As his own person. And in letting him step into the world, I stepped back into mine. If this story stayed with you, subscribe. More stories are coming. About the moments that don't look dramatic from the outside, but change everything inside.